In our last session, we had completed certain reforms which were duly required to have a speedy progress of Indian agriculture, in which we had learnt about the institutional reforms, and we had also talked about something called as the technical reforms. What all was required, because that was essentially to be done by us, that is Indians, so that we can progress a little further in the development of agriculture. The next topic which we are going to cover is the Green Revolution. The word revolution means to change, and here the word green is associated because we are primarily concentrating the changes, the reforms in agriculture. To understand what we are going to learn, we have to go through the history pages and let us talk about just after independence, what was the situation of Indians as far as food was concerned or edible parts were concerned. The agriculture was in very bad shape. So bad was the condition that majority of the food grains consumed by us was imported. We were also importing edible oil, and we were also purchasing the other food requirements like milk or milk products and associated things. At the time of independence, when post-independence the census was carried out in 1951, it was found out that the human population in India was somewhere about 38-39 crores. And in comparison to the present status, that is 139 crores, what we have got an estimate for the present year 2021. So it was just a small figure, but comparison to that particular time, we had a huge number of people to feed, and agriculture was not supporting the production. So at that time, the various political figures who were present out there, they had envisaged, they had a vision that one day India become a superpower in production of food grain, so much so that we not only suffice our needs, हमारी ज़रूरत ही पूरी नहीं हो, we should be in a position to export the products, agriculture products. So a systematic planning was carried out, and the whole planning or the whole work which was carried out, we refer as the Green Revolution. So the concentrated efforts of certain people, to name a few, we had the farmers who really put in their heart and soul in doing the work. We had the scientists who were producing new types of seeds for India so that more produce can be obtained. We had the engineers who were building the new irrigation into exporting list of the countries for the food grain. So this is the gist we can understand from the word Green Revolution. In spite of it, it's just two words, but we see that lots and lots of efforts were kept in doing those things so that the result could have been what we see now. So Green Revolution took place in our country in the decade of 1960s. So it took place in 1960s. We started in 1950s, so 10-15 years was the time which was required to work upon and get the returns if possible. And it is mentioned in the textbook also that before that there was a time when there was an acute shortage of food grains. Now when you talk about acute shortage, so much so was the shortage that there was a time when rationing was also introduced. When I talk about rationing, I'm talking about that one single person was allocated or allotted a particular amount of the food grain, and beyond that the person actually cannot purchase in spite of the fact that he or she might be having the money in the pocket to purchase it. So see what the situation. You have the money but no food grains. So rationing was introduced. And it was a matter of really concern, shame that India, which is an agrarian country where agriculture is the main source of income, where lots and lots of people, majority of Indians are associated with agriculture field, we are importing the food grains. Forget about sufficing the needs or exporting the products. In spite of this fact that we are agrarian country, we were importing the food grains. Now, we have mentioned about certain persons who have really worked hard on the field to get this green revolution's wheel turning. The first thing which we see is the scientific approach. Now, what does scientific approach mean? The extraordinary yield which we were able to receive after the initial setbacks, it was because of something which you had learned in your lower class, that is the production of high yielding variety seeds. HYV, high yielding variety. And these we can call as the improved seeds. So we had the wheat, we had made a new seed. This new seed was in a position to give us much more production per unit hectare. So comparatively to the old or traditional seeds, these new seeds which were actually manufactured by the agriculturists and the scientists in various universities and colleges, they have made this yield possible. Along with it, we saw the increased use of chemical fertilizers. Again, we are talking about the know-how of the learned men, those persons who were knowing the trade secret of producing the chemical fertilizers. Before at this juncture, we were using the manures. In lower section, you had learned about the difference between the manures and the chemical fertilizers. Manure is organic, but the nutrient quantity is quite less, whereas when we talk about the chemical fertilizers, these are man-made produce which have got the concentration of the minerals which is required to increase the output of the plants. So we started manufacturing it. Obviously, farmers also fertilizers, and along with it, we saw the availability of electricity. This availability of electricity, which was lagging behind in the rural areas, in the village sectors, so electricity was made available to the farmers so that they can use the latest gadgets. Say we talk about submersible pumps or monoblock pumps, we have learned about it. So these were those machines which were able to bring to the farms adequate supply of water. So electricity was there where machines or mechanization can take place, and apart from it, we saw an increased irrigation. Now, irrigation, it can be through the canal system, the ponds, the tube wells, the wells. They were all made available so that the water supply can increase. High yielding variety will be requiring sufficient amount of chemical fertilizers and sufficient amount of water. So all these three things were made available at the doorstep of the farmer, who capitalized upon these things and able to produce a bumper crop year after year, and we saw the green revolution taking into shape. What was the prime objective of the green revolution? It was to increase agriculture produce. So farmers were encouraged to use these chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, those chemicals which are going to control the side effects of various other organisms over the plant crop and attain the target to increase the agriculture production. So you started using chemical fertilizers. You started using various other chemicals also, because there might be certain pests, there might be certain insects, there might be certain weeds which were destroying our crop. We tried to eliminate it, and again emphasis was laid down on the uses of chemicals to get rid of these things. The concentration of green revolution was based upon wheat and rice. Now, what the point to say is, the other day we had learnt about that two cereals which are considered to be the main staple food of Indians, rice and wheat. So it was a concentrated effort in the growth of overall productions of agriculture, but special emphasis was paid or gone on the production of wheat and the paddy, so that the staple food of nearly all the Indians, I said nearly, it's not that all Indians are based upon the wheat and rice, but nearly all those Indians will be having the sufficient amount of food produced on the table. Now, where there was scarcity of the food grain in the country, the result what we see it, we have got sufficient supply, abundance of it. We have got the stockpiles ready, which can be used in the time of certain calamities. Last year, we had saw an unprecedented move which was taken by the government. We had to shut down the whole of the country. The general term which we used at that time was lockdown. The result was not many people were left without any job who were at the marginal levels. No job, no money, no food. At that time, the government of India came forward with sufficing the food requirement of these people, and certain free distribution was seen across India. How was it possible? The result is very simple. Being associated with something which was called as the bumper crop, which had been happening in India year after year, some part of which has been retained by the government to meet the day-to-day requirements of the Indians, was supplied through the fair price shops or the ration shops, whatever you may call it. And because of this situation, we can also now talk about that the deaths, starvation deaths, they have nearly stopped. There might be one or two occasions where we can come across after a couple of years that someone might have died, though very recently it has never happened. But starvation death, bhukmari, it was never seen post Green Revolution, because now we were able to have the stockpiles ready, and those stockpiles were easily transported across India through the network of road and railways. So once drought was hazardous, You have got a scanty rainfall and people were left with nothing to eat. But now, the adverse effect of the drought, in case it does happen, or even the floods, in case it happens, the people are not in a position to be starving, because the extra products is always being procured by the government and they are supplying it. So buffer stock is the name which we associate to this consignment which is kept aside by the government every year. And staple food, that is wheat and rice, these are two main commodities which are kept aside, and whenever any eventualities, any problem does arise, we will be able to send across the products. So self-efficiency was seen, self-sufficiency was seen, and today food grain is a landmark of historic achievement of green revolution. So much so that today's production in agriculture is enough for all the Indians to be eating the produce made in India. But not only that, we are able to send across the export of some products. Nowadays, we are also the exporter, not only sufficing the needs of 139, 140 crore people, but also have got enough stock available of various agriculture product that we can sell it out in the open market to the different countries of the world. And this phase over, changeover, which happened, we call it as the Green Revolution. This type of questions do come up here for a 3-mark topic, and the 5-6 points which we have discussed need to be addressed. This topic I have got is the role of agriculture in Indian economy. We have got certain facts. Certain facts says that 60% plus of Indians are associated with agriculture. The majority of the labor force of India is associated with agriculture. But the question is, how much are we generating revenues or money out of it so that we can put in the equation of Indian economy? इतने लोग काम कर रहे हैं, ये सब काम हो रहा है, what exactly is the value of it? So agriculture, which is the main occupation in India, the pressure which India had at the time of independence is now reduced. However, still majority of contribution as far as money is concerned in Indian economy still comes out here. What we are trying to understand out here is that the whole economic sector can be divided into 3 parts. We can talk about is number A, the primary sector. We can talk about B as the secondary or manufacturing sector, and number C we talk about is the service, also called as the tertiary sector. The statement which I have just read out, it tells us that at the time of independence, primary sector was a major chunk where from the money was getting generated, but slowly as we developed, the secondary and service sectors also developed. They started also giving a higher contribution to Indian economy. But still, when we talk about a comparison of the three sectors, the primary sector still holds a prominent place, an important place in Indian economy. So still it is a bigger proportion holder in comparison to the other two. How much so is this primary sector responsible? This primary sector still is providing work to 50% of population. So out of 140 crore people, a rough estimate will say that 71 crores are the people who are associated directly or indirectly with the primary sector, and that is efficiently also to agriculture. Second thing is, when we talk about the GDP, that is the gross domestic product, 17% of it comes from agriculture. So, agriculture contributes 17% of GDP. Now you must be thinking about only 17%. See, when we consider the price of the products which are present in agriculture products, the things are quite cheap in comparison to the manufactured or service sector. The service sector might be doing a little bit of working, but the economic representation is quite high. The manufactured sector, in which case we talk about, they are quite less, but the value is high. And why is it so? I'll give you an example. But in case you go for the product which is called as steel, so perhaps it will be sitting at 500, 600 rupees a kg. If you are looking forward for the service of any person, the person charging per or per day, and the value is going to be 300, 500, 5 lakh, 20 lakhs, whatever. So the amount is going to be a little higher side in comparison to the agriculture product. But in spite of this fact that the value of the agriculture product is quite less, we are still contributing 17% of the GDP. There are certain products which also brings the foreign exchange. As I have just talked about in Green Revolution, we had shifted from the category of importer to the category of exporter of agriculture products. So various products like a paddy, or we have got wheat, we have got oil seeds, various oil seeds, oil, cotton, we got jute, we have got sugar cane, we have got tobacco, various vegetables, various fruits. We have started sending it to the international market, and obviously when we are doing something which is called as export, in return we will be getting the much needed foreign exchange in the form of dollars or euro or yen, whatever it is. So foreign exchange is also coming down into India. Overall, when we compare with the world, we stand second in agriculture production in the world. So this is something which is never thought about. So India is ranked second in overall production of agriculture. The agriculture is going to provide the raw material for various agro-based industries. So these agro-based industries have also shot up, increased their production. Talk about cotton and textile, we talk about sugar, we talk about the paper, we talk about edible oil, so rubber, tea, coffee, these are all those things which are going to get processed and then passed on to the consumer. They also have got an increase in production level substantially, manyfold, and this is because of something which is called as agriculture produce, which has increased. So agriculture is not only giving us the direct benefit, indirect benefit is also going to be seen. So what exactly we see is agro-based industries. So agro-based industries, they have also increased. And last but not the least, most important of it, money is always secondary. Then to survive, agriculture is providing food to the people of India, so much so that it is sufficient to be present in everyone's plate and giving 2 square meal of the food to everyone. So Indian contribution is all these. The food is there, the agro-based industry is there, the foreign exchanges is there. But in case we talk about a comparative study, of agriculture, what exactly do we see? We had learned that a big portion of fields which are associated with agriculture are still dependent upon rain. So in case the rain is arriving on time, providing sufficient water, we will be having a bumper crop. And in case we see either it is before schedule, it is post schedule, it is more than required, or it is less than required. So 4 things are associated with monsoon, and we talk about is the irregularity, the uncertainty of monsoon. Sometimes it comes in the month of June, sometimes it reaches at the end of the June. Sometimes might be coming late or sometimes early. Sometimes we talk about that the amount of rainwater is too much. We talk about as the floods coming out. And sometimes we see it is below the required quantity. We will be associating it as a drought-like situation. So the overall production of India has never maintained a steady growth. Sometimes we see this very good bumper crop, sometimes we are very less. Here in 2009-10, there is a figure which is mentioned in your textbook, which talks about is just 281 million tons of food was produced, whereas in 2013-41 we have got is 235. So from 18 to 35, it's a huge jump, which we see million tons. So this is something which needs to be addressed and addressed soon, so that we maintain our record of being the top agriculture producer in the world. There is another mention about something which is called as the food security. Now, food security is something wherein a guarantee is associated regarding the availability of food to every citizen of the country. That is called as the food security. So food security is again very necessary for any country. If the demand of the food grain is increasing, and if the food grains have to be imported, then the political independence of that country may be at risk. And the reason is very simple. The one who are supplying the food grains will be coming up their terms and conditions which might affect the sovereignty of the country. So we don't need to be depending upon someone else who is going to provide me food, because anyone who is going to provide you with the food will be obviously coming with their own terms and conditions, and those terms and conditions definitely will be favoring the one who's supplying, not to the one to whom we have supplied the food. If India is importing the product, and let us say we are getting it from Sri Lanka, so obviously Sri Lanka will be coming with its own terms and conditions. We will supply this quality, we will supply this quantity, and at this rate. Now these all things makes that political instability in the country, because the sovereignty of the country, or say, let us say we're talking example of India, will be at stake. Should we do, should we not do? In case we do it, we are accepting the terms and conditions of the other country, and in case we don't do it, we have got lots of people within India who are staring at the face of the government for the food requirement. It is the moral duty of the government to supply a sufficient amount of food. So, concept be very much clear. We have to be self-reliant. We have to be in a position to produce enough of food which is going to justify the requirements of at least the citizen of the country. So, along with the increase in farm production, there has seen a phenomenal increase in population, and this has to be matched. We just simply can't allow an increase in the population unaided, unsupported, just keep on increasing, because the agriculture product is bound to be limited. There is always a limit to how much we can produce from a farm. And in case there is no similarity between the growth in agriculture product and the growth in the population, one day we are going to see the scarcity of the food. At present, we are producing, say for example, 200 million tons of wheat, which is sufficient enough for 139 crore people. But in case the population shoots up to 150 crore people, the production, which was 200 million tons previously, might increase to 210 million tons, but definitely it will not be sufficient for the growing population. So we have to understand that population needs to be controlled as per the production of the farms. We cannot do it vice versa. We cannot increase the produce of agriculture in tune with the rise in the population. So in 1951, the population, as it is said out here, 36 crore 10 lakhs, and this is the old publication, the mention about is 125 crores, which as on date this year, it is expected to be 140 crores. So 15 crores more have been added to it. So this increased the demand of food grains, and what exactly do we see is a phenomenal changes also taking place in food grain, but keeping in pace with the growth of the population. India produced 51 crore tons of food grains, which now has shot up to 265.04 crore tons in 2013-14. So here there is a mention about it. We have got 1951 to 2013-14. So 50-51, what exactly do we see? The production was approximately 51 crore tons. And 2013-14, we saw it coming to 265 or 264.04 crore tons. Everyone will be happy, see how much more we have produced. But compare about the population. We have just simply added 100 crore people to it. We are trying ourselves to the best level possible conditions to maintain something which is called as the buffer stock. When we talk about the word buffer stock, we are talking about the procurement purchase done by the government through its autonomous body, that is Food Corporation of India. They purchase the staple foods across the nook and corner of the country and stock it. Stock it so that in the coming year, perhaps the monsoon fails or overreacts, the enough amount of food grain will be there in the stock of the government, which can be sold into the market or sent into the market. This particular stock is known as the buffer stock, in between two seasons of cropping pattern, Kharif to Kharif, Rabi to Rabi, Zaid to Zaid. We have got certain amount of stock always maintained. So this need to be addressed to the highest level, that people who might be going as the hungry people, they should not be left hungry. The amount of food grain should be sufficient enough to suffice their needs. But again, two things need to be carried simultaneously: production increase, which can be increased to a limited extent, and the increase in the population need to be curbed down, controlled, so that it is always at par with the food grain production. The last topic which we have got in this chapter is impact of globalization on Indian agriculture. To free movement of products across the globe. So when globalization was implemented in 1991, we had a dream that perhaps Indian farmers will be selling their products in the world market and will be earning profit out of it. Many changes took place in agriculture field due to globalization. The process of export, import was made very simple. Anyone can sell the product, can purchase the product from the international market. Various commodities like cotton, chilies, various fruits, they are now available across the globe. You can go to any market, perhaps you would find some of the other Indian agriculture produce there on the shelves, being selling out there in respective countries. And obviously, we happen to see their product also coming down to India. We have got California oranges. California is American. We see that their product is going to be coming out here, and obviously, we might be seeing Nagpur oranges being found in California. So it's two-way communication. What really we had intended was to get the new technology which is available worldwide, but product which is mentioned, that is BT cotton. So, which is resilient to certain worm which is called as the bollworm. Bollworm is an insect which destroy the cotton crop and the yield reduces to quite a bit. But genetically modified, which is called as the GM products, they were introduced in India, including the BT cotton. We had this genetically modified brinjals, tomatoes, they also came down to India. And we thought that farmers will be benefiting. The problem with these GM foods or genetically modified foods or the product is they are costly. And secondly, you have to always purchase the seeds only. You cannot use the seeds produced from your field again. So every time you have to have that genetically modified seeds purchased from the respective companies which are making it, and that is making the cost a little higher. At present, what we can see is a farmer has sown wheat. Once it is harvested, some seeds are left aside which can be grown in the coming year, and the rest is consumed or sold. But as far as the genetically modified products are concerned, we need to purchase it from the original source. That is those companies which have, or those institutions which are in manufacturing of those genetically modified seeds, and obviously every year you have to purchase the seed. In a traditional method, we keep a part of the produce and it can be sold. So this is something which is making the GM food or products not easily accessible to the farmers. Apart from it, the products and the production, it has increased. There's a mention about cotton and maize which has increased many folds. The import is becoming smoother, the export is becoming easily available, but with the import we see another problem coming, that the local produce will be having a tough competition from the products which has been brought in from another country. I had just mentioned about those two types of oranges. One is named as the California orange, or basically American produce, and another one is the local Indian produce. Both are going to come across one customer, and it is basically the one customer who has to choose which product one needs to buy. So previously the Indian manufactured oranges were very easily available and there was no competition, but now there is a competition from the produce of another country. So this is one particular thing which need to be seen, and how we are going to fight against this problem. Another big problem is the patents, which we need to remember because it has been asked about in a couple of times in types of questions. When we talk about the patent, that means registering the qualitative farm products in a specific name at national and international forums, and this is called as doing the patent. At present, just a few weeks, we had been in a tussle with Pakistan regarding the origin of basmati rice. So, had it been a patented product, we know who is the original grower of that produce or product. It's not only the agriculture which is patented, various other things are also patented. No one can use without authorization of the one in whose name patent has been given. So, basmati rice, which has got origin in India, one of the few varieties of rice which is grown, developed in Indian subcontinent. That was again a problematic issue with America, and very recently we had that problem coming up with the Pakistan also, that who is actually the owner of the name Basmati, who can use the word Basmati. Anyway, to face this competition, agriculture products in global market, we have to adopt certain new technologies and we have to concentrate on quality, because as the time is going to progress, we will be seeing that many people will be solely 100% will be looking forward a better quality at a respective price band. And for us, that agriculture should survive this onslaught, this attack upon the quality, we have to improve the quality. Obviously, we have to improve the quantity and keep the prices within well limits so that everyone can purchase. So overall, globalization effects, we see the competition coming up, the overall growth which was expected never happened due to globalization, probable future increase in demand of agriculture products has to be taken into account, and obviously we have to march to the economic progress. With this, we come to the conclusion of chapter number 10, India Agriculture. In case of any queries, please do revert back to me so that we can sort it out. Till we meet again, have a safe day.